All right, everybody, welcome back to the number one television show in the history of the universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown, all three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing Monster Hunter International by Larry Correia, book number one in his Monster Hunter series, of which I have pretty much most of the books. And let's just talk about the cover first, because you know I love graphic design and cover illustration. So let's go over the cover that Baen Books has provided for us. This is a great illustration by Alan Pollock. Just super dope, really eye-catching. In fact, it was the cover that got me to buy this book when I first saw it in the bookstore, not knowing who Larry Correia even was, not realizing that he was a fellow Utahn, not realizing that years down the road I would become good friends with the guy. It was this cover that sold me. I was like, damn, that's a sharp-looking cover. I want to know what that's about. I read it. Anyway, Larry Correia, as I mentioned. Well, let's just talk about the covers. I mean, these are the Monster Hunter books I have. Like, they look good on the shelf together. They got the Baen logo on the, and the they all look like they belong together. Each one of them has a super dope cover painting by Alan Pollock. So anyway, and like I said, Larry's a friend of mine. He signed all of my books. Another connection I have to Larry is not only has he signed most of my books, and not only have I sat on a lot of writing panels with him at different Comic Con conventions and writing conferences, he's just a cool guy overall. Signed all my books. And if you are a fan of his Son of the Black Sword, this series here, Tim Gerard Reynolds narrates the Audible.com version of all of Larry's Forgotten Warrior books here, and Tim Gerard Reynolds also narrates all of my books. So if you like that narrator of Larry Correia's Son of the Black Sword, you are going to like the narrator of my books because it's the same dude, Tim Gerard Reynolds. So, enough talking about me and my connections to Larry. Let's talk about the book. This book is kind of like, I would liken this to, when you're watching a horror movie, like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, any of these horror movies where there are any monster movie where there's a serial killer chasing stupid teenagers around and killing them one by one because the stupid teenagers are stupid and make stupid decisions. This book is kind of like, what would happen if the same horror movie took place with the same serial killer or the same monsters or the same aliens or the same zombies or the same vampires that were just killing dumb people making dumb mistakes? And what if, instead of dumb people making dumb mistakes, what if these monsters were actually going up against, like, Second Amendment wielding, weapons wielding, like, people that would actually fight back and not make stupid decisions? That's kind of the basis of the Monster Hunter books. It's like, we got monsters, but they're not necessarily going up against the dim-witted teenagers of the world. They're going up against ex-Navy SEALs, ex-cops, just people that are like regular everyday people that know how to shoot guns. Well, those serial killers would not last that long. I mean, the Nightmare on Elm Street guy would be dead in a heartbeat. And it's kind of like the every man's fantasy of, like, every dude that watches these movies is kind of secretly like, I would love to be a zombie hunter. I would love to be in The Walking Dead and just take my shotgun and blow apart zombies nonstop. I mean, they make video games about this stuff. It's like, yeah, it's kind of, that's what we're dealing with here with the Monster Hunter. So it starts off with Owen Pitt. He's just a regular dude as an accountant. In fact, I'll just read the first page, because Larry Correia's writing is super, super on point and almost effortless and flawless in execution. He's got just a natural flow, a natural voice. His prose just it's almost like he was born to write these type of novels. They're almost like noir-esque mystery novels, just set in this kind of this extraordinary urban fantasy landscape where there's like monsters that live amongst us, and people need to hunt the monsters that live amongst us, whether they're werewolves, vampires, I don't know, it doesn't matter. Kind of like Men in Black, but it's a secret society of monster hunters, kind of like the Men in Black. But anyway, this is the opening scene, and it starts out with a bang. On an otherwise normal Tuesday evening, I had the chance to live the American dream. I was able to throw my incompetent jackass of a boss from my 14th story window. Now, I didn't just wake up that morning and decide that I was going to kill my boss with my own bare hands. It really was much more complicated than that. In my life, up to that point, I would never have even considered something that sounded so crazy. I was just a normal guy, a working stiff. Heck, I was an accountant. It doesn't get much more mundane than that. That one screwed up event changed my life. Little did I realize that turning my boss into sidewalk pizza would have so many bizarre consequences. Well, actually, he did not actually hit the sidewalk. He landed on a roof of a double-parked Lincoln Navigator, but I digress. My name is Owen Zastava Pitt, and this is my story. And his story is, he throws his boss out the window because it turns out his boss is actually a werewolf, and they get into a fight, and out he goes into the window. Then Owen Pitt's in the hospital. These mysterious guys can't come to the hospital. They are the special agents, Franks and Myers, and they say that your boss might have been a werewolf. Now that you know that there's these monsters in the world, you kind of got to keep this on the down low. And to help you keep this on the down low, we're going to try to recruit you into our Monster Hunter International group. And here's this girl named Julie Shackelford. She's really hot. She's going to try to help convince you to stay in the Monster Hunter group. And if you don't want to be in the Monster Hunter group, well, you can't talk at all about werewolves or the monsters or the things that you've seen, or we'll kill you. And so Owen Pitt is like, well, this girl is hot, and she wants me to be in the Monster Hunter group. So what the fuck? I'll just join a Monster Hunter group. And so he goes to Alabama to Monster Hunter training, and this is where the fun starts. He gets to meet all of the people in the training camp, and all the different characters that are going to follow him around throughout the adventures, through the other books, including Julie Shackelford and a bunch of ex-Marines, and this is where. In the training camp, this is where our sort of semi-naive accountant Owen Pitt gets to learn how to hunt monsters and become a zombie killer and be like in a real-life video game for the rest of his life. And it's just kind of like an ultimate male fantasy, sort of like Jack Reacher-esque sort of adventure where just non-stop action and fun and monster killing happens. And Larry Correia really gets to show off his knowledge of guns and weaponry. And if you read the back in his bio, and if you know anything about Larry, he used to teach concealed carry permit classes for people that want to own guns. He talks a lot about the Second Amendment on Fox News and CNN, or I don't know where he talks about it. He just talks about it a lot. He's even written a book about the Second Amendment, and he once was a gun store owner, so he's very knowledgeable in guns. So any gun or weapon that's picked up in this book to be used against the zombies or the monsters that they fight, Larry Correia knows every single thing about those guns, and he puts it in his book, which makes it kind of cool. So that's what we're dealing with. I mean, that is the story. I mean, it's just that, and it's cool. It's cool. I mean, there's not a dull moment in the book. It's just Monster Hunter fight after Monster Hunter fight, adventure after adventure, as we get to know these quirky characters that are in this group of Monster Hunters, and all of the things that go along with trying to keep this group secretive, kind of like Men in Black, and trying not to the general public, not know about all the different monsters that are out there and this, that, and the other. It's just a kind of a cool concept, and it's kind of like a mashup of a lot of stuff. Horror movies, zombie movies, Men in Black, which I've mentioned, Jack Reacher in a way, and it's super dope, super fun. It's no real big, grand, literary, philosophical agenda to this. It's just reading for fun's sake. You can tell Larry Correia had fun writing this. And whenever an author has fun writing it, you know the reader's going to have fun reading it. And so that's it. It's pretty much it. I give this for what it is. It's a popcorn book. This is like going to the movies and watching an action flick. Popcorn is like John Wick. You go in there just to see people get their heads blown off with pistols and shotguns and rifles and all other sorts of weaponry that's cool. And it's monsters, so nobody's really getting hurt. People, there really are no monsters. All the stuff that dies in this, it's make-believe shit. And it's cool. It's just, that's the only way to describe the book in the series is cool. So, I give Monster Hunter International a solid 9.5 out of 10. It's an absolute fun book to read.